Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
So, can you see how many people have subscribed to the?
I can't figure out how to do that. Unless somebody can tell me, because I keep searching for it just because I want to see if it updates in popularity or anything like that. But there's no real way that I can tell to know how many people we're in. You know, if I look up Guano now in iTunes, oh, we're getting some popularity actually. We got a couple little bars in iTunes. Like there's a popularity bar, and we were nothing before, and now it's 2, so it's like a fifth of the or a tenth of the way full. And we're at the number 9 if you type in Guano, or we weren't even on this list before. However, I don't know how to look up anything.
We're number 9 in Guano. So what are the what's 1 through 8?
That is so. Let me tell you about this here. Let me move this to a different window so I can actually be like playing some Minecraft for those watching this, not listening on iTunes. Guano Island is
Shit Island,
a podcast called 99% in. I don't quite. The podcast's name is 99% Invisible, and it says 239. Oh, it's Guano. Oh, it's episodes. So hold on. When you actually search for Guano, I just realized we're on here twice. We're 7th and 9th for 2 of our episodes that have popularity. So this is just searching by episode when I type in Guano in iTunes.
Okay. So,
but if I scroll down to the podcast,
know how we are like overall.
No, but we're actually 2nd on the list now. When you search for Guano under the podcast section, the first one is called 99% Invisible, and they had one called Guano Island. Is why. So there must be something called Guano Island.
That does sound familiar. I think that's an island where lots of bat shit comes from.
Though it's really weird because if I go into the podcast itself, it shows episodes 1 and 4 have 0 popularity according to the popularity bar, but episodes 2 and 3 are damn near full. Is there any ratings and reviews? There's not enough ratings and reviews to show anything to it. So yeah, that's the thing, is I don't know how to tell anything on this dashboard.
There's got to be a way to see, because I know like whenever we did Audible ads, they required all of this metric data. So there's a way to get that information because advertisers want that if they, you know, like when like I said, when we did Audible ads.
Do you remember how you
Chad was able to? Chad did all that. I didn't do anything with anything.
I mean, I don't know. I only had like
maybe
2.
Chad could tell you.
I had 3 episodes I think scheduled. I posted another one today. Oh, good, thank you. I posted another one today, and I scheduled 8 more to go out every day for the next, the next 8 days.
Are you doing them like just old ones or whatever?
Right now, since I started with that Christmas one.
Okay.
So I'm going from there, and I basically want to get caught up to real time, and then actually post them when. So
you can schedule them. I wondered about that.
Yeah, and I just did it this morning. I scheduled them this morning, but I have about 20 or 12 more episodes that I think are posted up on YouTube that I don't even have ripped the audio for yet. So I'll have to go rip the audio out and do that. But
do you record with Fraps or OBS right now?
Fraps, because I still can't get OBS to give me consistently good quality.
So I was thinking about that because I thought that was the case. I think you could probably set your OBS up to record just depending on how you have your audio separated. Like I don't know how you have your audio separated right now, but oh god, oh I'm live.
Augot? No, I do not have it set up in Augot.
Everything's fine. Depending on how you have it set up, if your audio, you probably could take the game audio out and just record our 2 mics, depending on how you have it all set up. I don't know how you have.
Oh yeah, I could easily, because I do have it set up right now. No, I couldn't actually do your mic because thank you for the host. The thing is, you come through as just desktop audio, so you would be mixed with the audio no matter what. I could get my mic channel separate.
That's too bad.
I mean, what would be nice to actually be able to do is have your actual audio feed and then my audio feed and mix them together, because apparently on my stream we hear... It's really funny because remember I said on my stream you kind of cut in and out?
Yeah.
When I had to post that episode up that I used your audio because I had screwed up my audio settings, everybody was like, oh, this is why, like, using a Guude's audio, the worst part about it is you hear the constant cut in and cut outs. So apparently it's even worse on your audio side, according to the viewers.
Huh. I don't have.
Clearly, you could. Well, you must be able to hear you just fine, obviously, because it's your audio. But
oh yeah. You constantly cut in and out.
Yeah,
on my side.
I wish we could figure out why that's going on, because
the only other person I have that problem with is Nebris. Like Nebris, but all of us hear it. But none of us hear anyone else in that group. Just Nebris.
I wonder why, because I hear you popping in and out. Not crazy a lot, so it's tolerable. But I guess on your side, maybe it's worse. For me,
I normally know what you're saying. Like I get enough of the sentence to know what you meant. But yeah, it is pretty bad.
We're gonna have to get some people to do some research as to why this is happening for us. Is it a Discord problem? We should actually, like, next on Thursday when we record, we should record in like Skype again, just to see if that's any different. Just because I'm curious.
Okay.
Or Mumble or something. Like, it doesn't have to be Skype.
Right.
It could be like whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I have Skype still.
I think I have Skype still. I don't think I ever uninstalled it. Yeah, but I'm just curious to see what it is that's causing such crazy problems with this, or even just a different Discord channel. Maybe you think something's up with the channel.
I don't
can't imagine what it would be, but
yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible. Anything's possible. A lot of lava here. Big ass pool of lava.
Big ass pool of lava. So, out of curiosity, how possibly controversial do you want to get? And it's not because I have like, I really do.
How many people would you like to offend?
Yeah, exactly. Let's go on our standard mantra. I am curious what your thoughts are, and if you'd like, I will say mine first. On this whole thing happening with the Virginia governors.
I don't know anything about it. Is this the blackface thing?
Yes.
Were they? So I don't know anything about it. I've seen people talk about people with blackface, and that's the extent.
So basically, it was uncovered that the current Virginia governor, in his 1984 med school yearbook, there was a picture of him dressed up in blackface next to a guy wearing a KKK. I don't know if it was a costume or what the deal was. He came out originally and apologized, and then he came out and said, "Oh, that wasn't me, but I did play blackface before at a different party, but that wasn't a picture of me." So people are calling for his resignation. Democrat, by the way, he's a Democrat. I thought he was a Republican when I first heard this, because I guess the Democrats are the big ones that are going after and telling him that he needs to resign. And I was like, well, of course they're going after that's a Democrat versus a Republican thing, but it wasn't at all. It was I didn't realize. So the person who was supposed to be next in line that would take over if he resigned, apparently it came out directly afterwards. They had sexual abuse allegations against him or something like that. So they were like, well, screw that guy. Let's go to the third person in line, who then came out without being called out for it. He said, I'm just going to be honest. I've done blackface before when I was in high school, in the 80s as well, in the early 80s. So now everybody's at this big crossroads of what the hell is going on with Virginia. What the hell do we do? But it's to me, it's such an interesting concept, because I don't want this to come out the wrong way, and that's why it's going to be so controversial. I don't want people to think I condone blackface or anything like that. It is inappropriate. It is not right. But back in the 80s, it was more socially accepted, even though that doesn't make it right, but it was socially accepted at the time.
What do you think? Blackface, though. I mean,
so what exactly is wrong with it? And that's the thing, is I don't know the context of these pictures either. It could have been a Halloween costume for all I know, and the guy
assumed it was,
and the guy under the KKK mask could have been a black guy. I have no idea. Were they doing an inverse Halloween costume thing, where it's you dress up as a black guy, I'll dress up as a KKK person. Ha ha ha. I have no idea. They did something similar in Scrubs, where Turk and JD, JD's the white doctor and Turk is the black doctor. They were showing a flashback from college, and they went to a party, and they went to Turk's fraternity, which was a black fraternity, and JD showed up in blackface and Turk showed up in whiteface for Halloween, and JD was sitting there going, are you sure this is okay? And he goes, yeah, man, if you're with me, they're gonna realize that what a joke this is and how it's funny, because black guy's dressed up as a white guy and the white guy's dressed up as a black guy. And the joke in Scrubs was right before some guy in the street was like, hey, Turk, and Turk goes, oh, hey, and walks away from the door after he rings the doorbell. And so the black fraternity guys open up the door, and it's just JD standing there in blackface, and it's just by himself, which is a funny concept, funny bit, and everything like that. But they were even doing it in Scrubs because it was a joke, and it was okay to do in Scrubs as a joke. So I do go back and forth on.
I guess that's what my question meant. Like, it depends on the context. Like, just a white person putting black makeup on their face. I need context, basically. I mean, if you're being racist, then yeah, it's wrong. But
even without context, should you now in? You want to go up to sleep? Is that what you're going up for?
That's where I'm going. Yeah.
Even now, in coming up close to 2020, 2019 timeframe, should you be told that you should resign from a position from a picture that was published in a 1984 yearbook? The action of being published kind of vindicating that it was acceptable at that time frame.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think context is important. If he was at a KKK rally and
well, I mean, honestly, really in my opinion, even if you were, because people change, you can be a hardcore racist person and realize the error of your ways and completely change your life around and be the opposite of that in the future, especially 30 or 40 years later.
Yes, I don't disagree with that, but I feel like you're gonna have a hard time being a politician with that past.
I would agree, but somebody who's already a politician with whatever this past is.
I mean, you're gonna have a hard time with your career going forward.
And I just thought about it. The movie. Have you ever seen the movie American History X?
Yeah.
Thank you, Booger Bob. American History X was the racist guy who kills kills those black people. Who's a white guy who's racist. Kills the black people. Only gets 2 years in prison. That was interesting.
I mean, fucking spamming the space bar, nothing happens. So cool game.
I watched it happen. So he goes to jail, ends up becoming friends with a black guy in jail, and completely becoming no longer a racist. Gets out of jail, and his family ends up one of the people in his family ends up getting going and killing getting killed by somebody because his whole family is still very hardcore racist, and he's kind of trying to tell them it's not acceptable to be racist. He's realized the error of his ways, and one of his family members dies at the end, and it's a big sad thing. And it was you actually realized what you were doing was completely wrong, and your family couldn't figure it out and ended up getting killed because of it, type of deal. But it's just I struggle so much with things that had happened so long ago because I do think that, for one, people can change. For two, there might not be context around it. And I don't... and that's why I said it's so bad, because it's hard for some people to listen to this because they're going to be like, Jeff's a racist, obviously. Which, I've obviously been called that before.
You going to start doing some accents in the middle of this video?
Yeah, I should. Why not? So he was all like, well, I'm sorry, governor. He was British now. All the people in Europe are now against me. Banned from Europe forever. I'm surprised you haven't seen this stuff going on, just because, especially since it's very Democratic.
I've seen bits and pieces, but I've stayed out of it because I just don't want to be involved.
So you don't like the controversy anymore? You're shying away from the controversy?
No, it's not that. It's just some of these things. I don't know. I have enough. I get enough bad news.
I mean, I think it's really messed up that you all of a sudden have 3 people in this line of succession, though. Or 2 people in the line of succession and the main guy, and all 3 of them have some huge problem.
I do think sex abuse is worse than blackface.
I would agree with that. That is definitely something I wholeheartedly agree with, and I don't think that being a sex abuser in the past will absolve you from it in the future because you might have changed. That's different, in my opinion. Being somebody who was racist and did racist things but has changed and is no longer racist is completely different than actually physically doing something bad to somebody and just being I guess it depends.
I mean, if you physically did something because you were racist, that's not
true. No, I'm saying just in general, the general act of hating somebody because of their skin color. But I'm under the assumption that there was no physical problems,
right?
Physical abuse or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally used to think homosexuality was a choice. I don't anymore, but I've changed. And anybody who claims that homosexuality is a choice, I try to convince them scientifically, as far as they know scientifically, why that's an improper statement. Like, people are saying, just don't be gay. I don't want to have the things that go along with it. Just don't be gay. It's your choice. Like, you try to correct that problem. But I used to think that. I was pretty young.
Was that because that's how you were raised, or?
I don't think I was.
I
don't think I was taught anything about homosexuality when I was raised. I just kind of thought that that's the way it was.
See, I was taught. I was taught that gay is bad, black is bad. That's how I was raised.
See, I was not raised that any of them were bad by any stretch of the imagination. But I was just about homosexuality. I was definitely taught about the fact that racism existed, and I think a lot of it was because I didn't realize at the school I went to at the time. I was very sheltered through high school, only for the fact that my school, we didn't have the first black people in our school until I was a junior. That was the first time we had any black people in our school. It was a very small school, but I lived in a area, or just outside of an area. Like, I got a job at McDonald's when I was in 10th grade or something like that, and I worked with a bunch of people of all different races, but mainly it was blacks and whites. It was pretty split evenly with black and white, but there was also, like, one of my best friends that I met there is an Asian guy I used to do the podcast with. He was like the guy I met my first day there. Him and I hit it off and became like best friends for a long time. I didn't even, like, in my mind, this is how terrible of it, how stupid and naive of a person that I can be. I went over to his house I told you the story before, I think. I've gone over to his house numerous times. And then he made a comment one day about being adopted. And I was like, "You're adopted?" And he goes, "Dude, you've met my mom." His mom's a white lady.
Was his dad also white?
He did actually. Was adopted by just a single mom. She was never married. There was no dad. And I never put two and two together that this white lady had this Asian kid, and it wasn't hers. And it wasn't because I was like, "Oh, I assumed like your dad was Asian. It just wasn't around anymore." It didn't even dawn on me. Like, I didn't even think about it that way. You know how people say, and they say it's such a cliche term. "Oh, I don't see race. I don't see colors." Like, I didn't see it. I physically, like, didn't even notice. Right. Like, so it's not really a cliche thing to say. It can be accurate. I think it became cliche because people use that as an excuse to try to say that they weren't racist. But I think there's some accuracy to the statement as well. So even though I grew up in a school that did not have it had 99.9% white people the entire time that I was there. So I was taught by my parents, because of the low exposure that we had to other races, about racism and how racism existed and how racism was a bad thing, that you should love everybody no matter what. But I was not taught about homosexuality at all.
Right.
And I don't.
Yeah, my mom was very, very much anti all the things.
Anti all the things, all except white males, or I guess since she's a woman,
white females yeah. for me, yeah. I
mean, that's interesting. Is your area that you're in general relatively, like, I guess, out of date with acceptable things?
I mean, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't leave the house.
Such a
stay
recluse.
Inside. So I mean, it's hard to say. Like, you know,
Guude's
like
at home or Disney. Those are the only two places he goes.
like my grandma. Yeah, my grandma and her sister are both Democrats and pretty open-minded. My grandma I've still seen my grandma do some pretty racist things throughout time. But for the most part, I mean, you know, she grew up in a family that, you know, had a black person. They weren't part of the family.
So like a slave, or
no, they got paid. But like, for instance, sometimes my grandma will say, "I need to get me one of them black women to come help me clean up," because that was just something they did in her family. You know, they had a black lady, and that's how she refers to it. I need a black lady. Like, I mean, it's not like she needs a slave. She needs to pay her someone, but that person really. She's gonna have to be black, I think, because white people didn't do that in my grandma's generation. It wasn't, you didn't have a white lady, but lots of families had a black lady.
Interesting. That's the strangest thing I've ever heard. I mean, I guess, you know, it's funny because my grandfather on my dad's side actually pretty much lost communication with my side of the family after my sister's wedding. He was upset that he wasn't invited, even though it was in like Jamaica and it was for immediate family only. So it was only like my parents, myself, my sister, and her husband and her husband's parents and sisters were all that was there. So it was very immediate family in Jamaica. And he was mad that he didn't go. And then he saw the pictures, and there was a black priest was the person who married him on the beach, and he refused to come to the reception because of it. Because they did a reception after, like, a couple months after they got home from Jamaica, like the backyard family thing. He refused to come to the reception because of it. The story I was told. I've been told now that that's not exactly how it went, but I don't know. I wasn't there. You know, I was never close to him anyway, so I wasn't, for me, that crazy of a deal. And I know that's sad to say, but that's just the way it was. But so his generation was still very racist.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, you know,
I don't think they had black people that came over and did stuff that they paid, and they had to be black people. I don't think it was bring over the black lady to clean the house, but I think it was just don't have black people near me at all is what I think that theirs was more like.
I remember my my aunt, my aunt's daughter on my mom's side. She married a black man, and my mom for years, like, she wasn't allowed at Christmas, like. They were not allowed around, period. Like, they were no longer part of the family because she married a black man.
It's so weird to me.
So, yeah, there was many years where we did not see her or her family or anything. At this point, you know, she's got, like, I mean, her kids are older than me. Or no, that's not true. Her kids are adults.
At this point, her kids are older than you. They've caught up and surpassed you.
They passed me, man. They fucking out-leveled me.
It's that racist Asian. It goes faster than normal Asian.
Yeah. But yeah, we should go sleep again.
Okay, I'm gonna drop off my stuff
But my mom's dad, well, stepdad, he was always the dad though, so he was the only dad that was ever around. So we always thought of him as like the dad. Anyways, he used to be in the KKK. So it makes sense.
That's
that he
pretty
wasn't
racist.
Okay. Yeah, he was, but you know, I don't know. I mean, you know, I didn't get to know him as an adult, so I don't know. But it seemed like he kind of, I mean, him and his wife were both alcoholics for years, and then they like became like heavy church going Alcoholics Anonymous people that seemed to have like everything together. So I don't know that.
And then one day they were trying to go to the AA meeting, and they slipped into the wrong room, and were like, "These people are fun." What was the name of this group again?
So yeah, I don't know if whenever he died, if he was still like as racist as he was whenever he was, you know, former KKK guy. I don't know.
There was a really interesting NPR story. I wish I could remember the guy's name, but I listened to it a couple months ago, and it was a black guy who set up an interview with, what do they call him? Like a grand marshal or something. I don't remember what they're called of the KKK. Under the guise, like he never lied, but he just kind of implied that he was a white guy. And he had this dude show up and just kind of get like thrown off the, like confused as hell that all of a sudden he just showed up to this black guy. And as the, you know, this grand marshal of the KKK. I guess he went through with the interview, agreed to multiple more interviews, and they became friends. And
yeah, this guy's actually famous for this.
Yes, he's very famous for this.
Unracist, basically.
Yeah,
He removed the racism. He exercised it.
Yeah, and it was really he exercised the racism. But I mean, that obviously shows that, and those people, like I think him and like two other people that he ended up meeting throughout KKK, high level KKK people, ended up like relinquishing the KKK, whatever you call it. They like stepped down because they no longer believed in
renounced.
Renounced. That's it. That's the word.
Denounced.
Denounce. Renounce.
I think so.
Something.
I think denounce is the right word.
But basically, so those people changed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a firm believer that people could change. I think it's always funny whenever the politicians get called flip-floppers because they held a stance 30 years ago and now they're against that stance. Like, motherfucker, shit changes. Like, you educate yourself in different ways and you learn new things, and then you may believe something differently than what you believed a long time ago.
So it is okay for Trump not to release his tax returns.
What? How'd we get there?
Well, because he used to call out. They used to show tweets from him back in the '90s demanding somebody return, like show their tax returns. Maybe it wasn't even the '90s. Maybe it was about Obama.
He wanted birth certificates for Obama. I guess change can be positive and negative. Sure, I'm not saying that all change is positive. But no, he's just a hypocrite.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I was saying, in case you didn't know, I was being facetious. It was.
Yeah, Jeff did just say tweets from the '90s.
I mean, I was so ahead of my time. I already knew people who were tweeting.
So was Trump. He's tweeting. He's tweeting in the '80s.
I mean, it's like if you could send a tweet back in time. You know what's funny? You always see those time travel. Not TV shows, but the ones where people are like, look at this real life existence of time travel. Like, how did people miss this? And one of them is this old Charlie Chaplin film where they're determined this woman walks around the corner and she's talking on a cell phone. And,
oh, yeah.
And I'm always like, for one, who the fuck do you think she's talking to? There weren't cell phone towers back then. So even if she came back with a cell phone, who'd she call with this cell phone? Like, who do you think she is talking to on a cell phone right now?
Yeah, I mean, she could be calling the landline, but she would still need the tower.
Yeah, the tower would need to connect that phone call through. Like this, I can time travel with a cell phone, and if I try to use it, maybe I was just seeing how good coverage was back in the day. I wanted to see if that Verizon guy was appropriate to, have his stance back in the day and then flip to Sprint. Was it really better back then, and now is it about the same, or was he lying the whole time?
I wonder how much they paid that guy. That's like just pretty fucking genius marketing wise.
I agree.
Because he was like the face of them.
Though it's really funny, I didn't recognize him at first in these Sprint commercials because
really
he had I don't know if he gained weight in the face. His body doesn't look different, but his face looks different to me. Like it looks like his face is a lot fatter. I didn't realize it was the same guy until people were talking about how crazy it was that he was doing that. I'm like, holy shit, that is the same guy. Didn't know.
Ad did not work on Jeff.
Well, it did once people talked about it.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, in that regard, we should end the episode.
Okay.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.